When a woman chooses to overlook you, she is actually handing you authority, provided you know how to exercise it. Let us speak the truth that most avoid hearing. When a woman disregards you, she isn't just preoccupied, she is assessing your worth. If you respond as the majority of men do, by pleading, demanding justifications, or displaying panic, you have already failed the challenge without even realizing it. This broadcast is not intended for the weak. It is for those prepared to stop being emotional captives to the crumbs of attention a woman might offer. Because indeed, when she remains silent, she is evaluating you, not through speech, but through that very void. And silence can be more piercing than any shout. Many men believe that if a woman retreats or stops responding, the correct path is to fight for her, to prove their care, and to persist until she returns. That isn't affection, that is dependency. And dependency, brother, is the most powerful deterrent you can project as a man. This is where Stoicism becomes relevant, not as an ancient philosophy from dusty volumes, but as a brutally effective instrument to reclaim your center, your self-respect, and your masculine honor. A Stoic man does not react with nervousness or fear. He does not seek confirmation in a woman's reply. He observes, he pauses, and he acts with purpose rather than impulse. While you might be grieving over an unanswered message, she is watching something far more significant. Are you a man who collapses over a bit of silence, or are you a man who remains steadfast, unshakable, and driven? Do you wish to understand why so many women lose interest? It is because you made their attention your vital air, and no one respects a person who is suffocating for validation. Society has conditioned you to be overly understanding and attentive, but in reality, they have molded you into a man who relies on a woman's emotional state to feel significant. That is a blueprint for emotional disaster. When she ignores you, what is your move? Do you hunt her down as if she were your redemption? Or do you become that rare, distinct, and unpredictable man who does not break? A man who simply takes a step back and watches as she wonders why you aren't reacting like everyone else. Because the moment you cease reacting, you begin to lead. When you embrace silence without terror, she starts to hear the echoes of her own emptiness. That, my friend, is when the dynamic shifts. This content isn't about manipulating women. It is about reclaiming mastery over yourself. It is about realizing that when a woman disregards you, you can utilize that moment not to beg, but to progress. Today, I will instruct you on how to act with stoic composure without sacrificing your masculine core. We shall discuss emotional discipline, dignity, personal value, and most importantly, I will show you how to transform that awkward silence into an opportunity for strength. If you are ready to stop being a reactive man and start being a man who commands his own path, stay with me, because when a woman ignores you, your true test begins. 1. The one who pursues loses. 2. Ignoring is a tactic, not an accident. 3. Your reaction defines her, not you. 4. Masculine silence is more potent than 1,000 words. 5. When you do nothing, you accomplish everything. 1. The one who pursues loses. When a man starts chasing a woman who is ignoring him, he instantly forfeits two things: his power and his value. The worst part is he doesn't even notice. He believes he is showing interest and commitment, but what she perceives is something else entirely. She sees desperation, and desperation is never respected. It is looked down upon. From the second you are messaging her just to get a response, trying to figure out what is wrong, or seeking her out excessively, you are no longer leading, you are entreating. In the emotional realm, the one who entreats places himself beneath the other. The issue isn't that she is ignoring you, the issue is how you behave when she does. Many men fear that if they stop persisting, they will lose her, but it is exactly the opposite. You lose her every time you seek her out without her having done anything to earn it. This is biology, not just psychology. A woman respects the man who embodies security, direction, and composure. How does that look in reality? It looks like calmness, space, and the ability to remain unmoved by indifference. If she ignores you and you run after her, she has already won. She knows she has you, that she doesn't need to try, and that you are available even when she is not. But if you don't react, if you don't run, and if you don't alter your behavior, then something sparks in her mind. Why doesn't this affect him? Why isn't he looking for me? Could he be with someone else? Or perhaps he simply doesn't need me anymore? That doubt, that slight discomfort in her, is the secret. I will be clear. Genuine interest isn't built with flowers or sweet texts. It is built with distance. It is created when she feels she might lose you. But if you insist on reminding her you are right there every time she ignores you, she will never feel that. A woman does not desire an emotional servant. She wants to admire the man she is with, and you cannot be admirable if you are always trailing behind, seeking approval and begging for notice. Do you want respect, attraction, to be taken seriously? Then do not pursue. Do what a Stoic man does. Observe, breathe, and stay the course. Now visualize this. She stopped replying to your texts. Days have passed. You do not react. You don't write. You don't call. You don't ask questions. Meanwhile, you continue your life. You focus on your profession. You train. You hang out with friends. And you post a photo looking composed without hints or drama. She sees this and suddenly realizes you are not like the rest. You didn't explode. You didn't humiliate yourself. And you didn't create a scene. Then she writes, she greets you, or she throws out an excuse or a casual message. Now you hold the power to decide whether to respond or not, whether to continue the talk or leave it on read, because you are no longer the pursuer. That, brother, is the strength gained when a man refuses to chase. Chasing sends a silent but vivid message. Your attention is worth more than my dignity. That is something you can never allow. If she senses you are willing to trade your inner peace just for a bit of her time, you will lose not only her respect, but also your own self-respect as a man. A woman might play at ignoring you for many reasons: to test your interest, to penalize you, to influence you, or simply because her feelings have shifted. But the reason is irrelevant. What matters is that you do not break. Stoicism doesn't tell you to feel nothing. It tells you not to be a captive to what you feel. This means that even if her silence stings, you do not act out of that emotion. You act from a place of control, dignity, and your own center. If you stay calm and do nothing, she feels she has lost her grip on you, and in that moment, something transforms. Look closely. Women are used to men reacting instantly. They are used to you appearing with long texts, apologies, and virtual gestures the moment they ignore you. That only confirms they have you in their hand. But the man who does not react, who does not chase, and who vanishes when she vanishes, that man becomes a mystery. And mystery is more magnetic than any poem. In fact, when you don't seek her, she doesn't know if you are peaceful, annoyed, indifferent, or with another woman. That uncertainty is more powerful than any word. Do you know why this works? Because the man who doesn't chase is rare. Most men cannot handle the void. They cannot endure the silence or tolerate being ignored. But you are not most men. You don't need her validation to feel like a man. You don't need to be behind anyone to feel valuable, because your worth doesn't rely on her attention. It depends on your mindset, your focus, and your inner strength. She might ignore you today, but if you act with poise, firmness, and detachment, then tomorrow she might be thinking of you while you have already moved to another level. And if she doesn't return, you still haven't lost, because the man who doesn't chase is selective. Only a man who respects himself has the luxury of choosing. In short, if she ignores you, don't seek. If she retreats, don't persist. If she grows cold, you freeze over. You don't do it out of pride. You do it because self-love is stronger than any craving. And that, brother, truly attracts. 2. Ignoring is a strategy, not a coincidence. When a woman ignores you, it isn't an oversight. It isn't that she forgot to reply or that she is too busy. It is a choice, and often a very calculated emotional move. Even if it's hard to accept, some women use silence as a power tool. They don't always do it out of malice, but they do it with intent, to see your reaction, to gauge your level of dependence, to know if they can influence you. Here is the harsh truth. While you are suffering over an unread message, she is analyzing your conduct. You are emotionally impacted. She is emotionally in control. This shatters the balance. You start playing defense while she takes command. The problem is, many men refuse to believe a woman would use indifference as a test. They say, "No, she isn't like that. She doesn't play games. She probably just has a lot on her mind." While you make excuses for her, she continues to observe how you fold on your own. Look at it this way. When you ignore something, it's because it doesn't matter to you. When you choose to ignore something, it's because you want to send a message without saying a word. That is exactly what she is doing. Silence is a language, and when a woman uses it, she does so to see how easily you can be destabilized. If you fall into the trap, you lose respect. But if you understand that this silence isn't random but strategic, then you no longer take it personally. You take it for what it is, a chance to prove you depend on no one. This is where Stoic thought enters. The Stoic doesn't react on impulse or run for explanations. He simply observes the game and chooses not to play. A man who masters his emotions never reacts to manipulations disguised as lack of interest. Imagine this. She stops replying. You notice, but you do nothing. 2 days pass without a word from you. Meanwhile, she checks her phone expecting you to complain, explode, or insist, but you don't. Then she begins to doubt. Does he not care? Has he moved on? Is he with someone else? That is when her own strategy backfires, because what started as a way to control you turns into her own anxiety, and you didn't even flinch. That is how the Stoic man wins, by not playing. Understand this, a mature, emotionally stable woman doesn't ignore you on purpose. If there is an issue, she speaks and explains. But if she just vanishes or freezes the flow, she is using the power of silence to manipulate your reaction. If you fall, you prove it worked. If you don't, you prove that you are not to be trifled with. That is the masculine energy that attracts, not aggressive, not needy, but the energy of a man who understands that silence is also answered with silence. She can ignore you today, you can ignore the drama for a lifetime. 3. Your reaction defines her, not you. Many men make the mistake of believing that if a woman ignores them, it's because they did something wrong. They automatically blame and punish themselves mentally. But that is a snare. Your value as a man does not depend on how a woman treats you. It depends on how you respond when you aren't treated as you deserve. If you panic every time a woman pulls away, you lose power. That panic makes you act like someone who lacks self-trust. And here is something brutal. She notices it, she feels it, and she loses respect and admiration because she is no longer facing a steady man, but a fragile one who reacts to the slightest stimulus. You cannot control if she retreats or ignores you, but you can control your response, and that response defines you. If you react with need and desperation, you aren't responding like a man. You are pleading like someone who has placed his worth in someone else's hands. When you do that, you reflect more about her than about you. You reflect the type of woman you are dealing with, one who chooses to vanish instead of communicating. So why take it personally? What she does speaks of her. How you react speaks of you. This is where Stoicism gives you the edge. A Stoic man isn't moved by what he cannot control, especially a fleeting emotion. He understands his reaction is his sacred territory. You might feel frustration or sadness, but that doesn't mean you have to act on it. You don't need to seek her or explain anything. Just stay firm. Those who do not move on the outside demonstrate strength on the inside. Remember, every time she ignores you, she is showing who she is. You decide if you lower yourself or maintain your standard. 4. Masculine silence is more potent than 1,000 words. Too many men talk excessively when they feel ignored. They justify, they plead, they write paragraphs no one requested. In that desperate attempt to clear things up, they only end up losing their dignity. Brother, talking a lot doesn't make you strong, it makes you predictable. And the predictable is boring and easily discarded. Do you know what truly leaves an impact? Your silence. Masculine silence, born from control rather than ego, is a formidable weapon because it projects self-assurance. A woman can ignore you or leave you waiting, and you can react in 2 ways. You can do what everyone else does, ask what's wrong and beg for attention, or you can do what a man who respects himself does, keep silent, not out of pride, but out of power. This is a wake-up call. If you think more talking will fix her disdain, you are lost. You aren't looking for love, you are looking for validation. And external validation is the emotional poison of the modern man. We live in times where men are taught to express everything and be transparent, but no one taught them to be strategic or indifferent when necessary. Masculine silence doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you feel but you don't kneel before it. It means you know when to speak and when to be quiet so that your message carries more weight. A ghosted message is not answered with another message. It is answered with zero presence, with coldness, and with distance. That is what breaks the pattern and returns control to you. So stop writing and explaining. Learn to vanish with class. If she returns, let it be her decision, not your pressure. And if she doesn't, it doesn't matter, because you are no longer in begging mode. You are in Stoic mode. A Stoic man doesn't scream to be heard. He is silent, yet his presence is still felt. 5. When you do nothing, you accomplish everything. There is a misconception that destroys masculine energy. The idea that if you do nothing, you lose her. Out of fear of loss, men do too much effort and too many explanations. What they don't get is that sometimes the greatest power lies in not moving a finger. When she ignores you, your instinct might push you to force conversations or fix what you don't even know is broken. But that only shows you are more focused on keeping her than on keeping yourself. Doing nothing isn't passivity, it is strategy. It is understanding that your silence and distance say more than any word. By doing nothing, you are showing self-control and setting boundaries. You are proving you don't depend on anyone to feel whole. That is masculine power in its purest state. Many men need to wake up. They've been programmed to save the relationship even when the other person does nothing to help. In trying to rescue what isn't even sinking, they end up drowning themselves. Doing nothing isn't giving up, it's respecting yourself. It is sending the message, I will not invest energy where I am not welcomed. That attitude is felt. When she sees you don't react, she starts to wonder if she lost you or if you are better off without her. That thought only appears when you cut the pattern of being always available. You don't need to block or insult. You just need to disappear emotionally. A strong man knows when to act and when to stay still. The one who acts out of anxiety loses, but the one who stays in his center ends up attracting more without chasing anything. Doing nothing isn't weakness. It is your most elegant way to reclaim control. The man who doesn't react dominates. The real tragedy is that most men are terrified of appearing indifferent, but aren't afraid of appearing desperate. We live in an era where it's normalized for the man to be the one who runs and insists. But when a man acts with calmness and emotional control, society calls him cold or arrogant. Let them say what they want. The man who doesn't react isn't unfeeling. He just doesn't kneel before his feelings. That is what makes you respected, and often missed. When she ignores you, your best answer is none. That is leadership. That is having a standard. You won't negotiate your peace for attention. Here is the reality. 90% of the time she ignores you, it's not because she doesn't like you, but because she wants to see if you will degrade yourself. It is a harsh truth that doesn't sound romantic, but it is the truth you need to hear if you want to stop losing your dignity for emotional crumbs. Many of you are there right now, looking at the phone, doubting your worth because of the silence of someone who already knows they have you. It is time to wake up. Stoicism is a way of life. In relationships, it means having the courage not to pursue those who choose to walk away. Your value isn't measured by how much they seek you, but by how much you respect yourself, even in abandonment. If this made you think, leave a comment. Tell me your experience. Has a woman ever ignored you? How did you react? Did you fall back into the trap, or did you learn? I read the comments and will help if I can. This is a brotherhood of men learning to stop reacting and start commanding. If you reach the end, you aren't like the crowd. You are here to change the game. See you in the comments. And remember, sometimes silence is the loudest cry of a man who is no longer willing to beg for respect.